Hi everybody, welcome to this video and flute comparison of some of the more popular Native American style flutes. And these will all be A flutes and somewhat entry level, great for you beginners, but also valid flutes in their own right for anybody who's either interested in starting to play the flute or who just wants to fill out their flute collection. So a couple things before we get started. I will be comparing 4 flutes in this video. None of the manufacturers are paying me to do this. These are all my personal flutes. I'm doing this as a service to my flute friends, flute community, because people do often ask what's the best flute to get or what flute should I start with, and there's no such thing as the best flute. There's no such thing as a bad flute. There's just flutes that have different features and of course that cost different amounts. And so the purpose of this is to give you some information so you can make an informed choice about the flute that you might want to get. I got all of them. So one thing about the audio, I am using a shotgun mic. I'm not using a music instrument recording microphone for this video. So I just want you to know that the sound will not be as full or full spectrum as it would if I was using a studio mic, like I was making a record. But I just decided to use this shock. It's a good microphone, but it's not a musical instrument microphone. It's really for voice. So it has a little bit of a bell curve when it comes to audio. Not really high highs, not really low lows. But it'll give you an idea of what the flutes sound like compared to one another, at least in this particular setting. We're going to be comparing flutes from Northern Spirit flutes, Journey of Life flutes, High Spirits flutes, and Wood Sounds flutes. And these are all flutes that I own and play, and I know all the people who make them. So let's start with Northern Spirit flute. So this is the Northern Spirit flute, and it is a food grade ABS type plastic. I'm not here to talk about every single aspect of every flute, but I want to give you the sound example. So let's just get right to what does this flute sound like. One of the things I love about this flute is that it's a great travel flute. It's completely made out of plastic, except for the leather wrap. Durable, affordable, very playable, not that easy to overblow. So I'm gonna try to, I hope I don't blow this mic out, but I'll try to overblow it a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. So you can put a lot of air through this thing and it holds up really well. I like these flutes, they're in tune. I've used them a lot. We use these at Flute Harvest, Clint Goss and I and Vera Shanoff for our reference flute, what we call a reference flute. So you can get these flutes, hand them out to everybody. And if you're leading a flute circle, flute workshop, everybody will be on the same pitch. And you can do that for around 55 bucks per flute. So again, this is Northern Spirit flute. I've traveled with this to lots of other countries. It's a great little flute, great for beginners, but great for anybody if you want to take your flute backpacking or to the beach or something and not have to worry about it. All right, so that's the Northern Spirit flute. This is the Sparrowhawk A aromatic cedar from High Spirits flutes. And if you've looked into buying a flute at all, or you know anybody that plays flutes, you probably know that everybody has a High Spirits flute, or they started on a High Spirits flute. My first flute was this flute, not this actual flute. This is a brand new flute I just unwrapped to make this video, but my first flute was a High Spirits A Sparrowhawk. They haven't changed much over the years, little design changes, but it's a great starter flute. It's one that I recommend to a lot of people. As of the making of this video, this flute on the High Spirits website, you can have for about $150 list. And you can get some different prices if you look around online, but it's aromatic cedar. This is a fresh flute right out of the bubble wrap, so It does have a little bit of a varnish scent to it, but if you get up close, wow, you get that cedar, beautiful cedar smell. Or I'll call it an aroma. All right, here's what this high spirits Sparrowhawk A aromatic cedar sounds like. Now, one of the things I've noticed about these flutes is they will, and this goes for all flutes really, it's a little bit easier to overblow on the low end, but once you get up out of the low notes, you're just fine. So you really want to baby the low end, but then as soon as you get up the scale, even up above the all the open notes, which we can get a couple other notes on the top end, it's no problem. Again, one of the things I love about high spirits flutes is they really make sure all their flutes are in tune. And what I mean by that is they're tuned to the standard A440 pitch. So you can buy, and I do buy, these flutes in numbers, and I can have everybody playing one of these flutes, and I know they're all going to match in pitch. Because a lot of the handmade flutes, and I'm not necessarily, I don't know, you won't know until you get a flute, but I have had experiences with handmade flutes, beautiful flutes, but when we put them all together, they're not necessarily exactly in pitch, and you will know, and you may not find that desirable. You may, I don't know. But this is the high spirits flute, Sparrowhawk in A aromatic cedar. The next flute up is from Journey of Life Flutes. This is I believe it's Eastern red cedar or Western red cedar. It's one of those red cedars. And it is a bit longer flute. It uses our direction holes on the bottom to effectively shorten the functional length of the flute, but while leaving the actual length a little bit longer. Journey of Life flutes also have quite a long slow air chamber. So it's a longer flute, and it's also a smaller bore than some of the other flutes. But here's what it sounds like. Now, very playable flute, very musical, little bit different sound, kind of a round sound. The one thing I would note about this flute, and this is not a good or bad judgment, the fundamental note, the low A, on this particular flute tends to have a little bit different timbre than the notes above it. So I'm going to play that again so you can hear that. So it's almost like you shift to a little bit different flute sound on the very bottom note. I happen to like that sound on the bottom note. It's just something to note for yourself when you're looking at flutes. But again, really consistent. I purchase these and I sell these flutes as well to some of my students. This is a basic flute. All these flutes I'm showing you are the basic flutes. They all can come with upgrades. So this is, again, the Journey of Life flutes in the cedar model. And finally, we're going to look at a wood sounds flute. This, again, is a cedar flute, an A flute, pretty basic, especially for this guy, Brent Haynes, who makes this flute. Those of you who know flutes know that Brent is really considered one of the finer flute makers in the country, at least in the US, and does a lot of artwork with the flutes, a lot of amazing work with not just the woods, but also all of the stone work and other kinds of work. So you can go to his website, Wood Sounds, and I'll leave links to all the websites to all the flutes I'm showing you down below this video. But this is, again, his kind of, not at the absolute bottom, but I would say entry-level flute. And as of right now, this flute is about, I want to guess, $225 to $250 from Wood Sounds Flutes. Now, you may notice this has a really special finish, beautiful finish. Brent's flutes are all, most of them, not all, but most of his standard, the way he makes his flutes are high gloss, very smooth, beautiful, not, without any kind of lacquer smell at all, and just very well finished flutes. You may notice the sound is very warm. It's a little just, round kind of sound, and I can put a lot of air into this flute. In fact, Brent makes his flutes to be played at a fairly strong breath pressure. I would say at least medium and up. And so that's a good thing if you want to play with other people, if you're playing with, a couple other musicians. And it's also, you're able to play it a little bit louder than some of the other flutes. I think this flute can take a lot of air and you won't be overblowing it, even at the low end. Okay, to finish up, I'm going to give you an up and down the scale run through each flute back to back, along with some closer up video shots so you can see some more detail of these flutes. As I said, you can find information below this video and tell them Kalani sent you if you like. I hope you enjoy getting any or all of the flutes that have been featured in this video. And of course, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and maybe we'll see you in the future at Flute Harvest or another flute event like the Summer Solstice Flute School and Summer Camp. All right, thanks for watching. I'm Kalani, and I'll see you all in the music.